Do you agree with the whole red pill thing, that it's like good for men to sleep around, and it makes you have a higher value as a man if you're sleeping around, have a ton of bodies?
So I don't think promiscuity is good in men or women. I do think when men and women are promiscuous, I do think that there are differences there. I do think that it can certainly have a negative impact on both, but I do think that the negative impact tends to be more significant in women than in men. I'm not saying that it's all smooth for men who are promiscuous, but I certainly think there are differences between the genders. I'm not in favor of promiscuity in either sex. I will say, though, that I do think it is the case that that to be broadly attractive to women, you're going to have a much higher degree of relational dating and relationship experience than the reverse. So I think that you know, a man who lacks experience with women is going to be probably deemed
but what about sexual experience, like the number of partners?
If the woman's a virgin, then it probably won't matter, but once a woman's lost her virginity, and if she's had a few sexual partners, a man lacking in that department is actually going to be could be a pretty big deal breaker for a wide swath of women. I don't think it requires a man to sleep with 50 or 100 women to become sexually experienced, but I think, for example, like even very sexually experienced men may very well prefer women who are not sexually experienced. They might find that attractive or sexually arousing, whereas the reverse is very rarely the case. Sexually experienced women are repulsed by men who are virgins.
I feel like most high-value men look for women who are not experienced. I feel like high-value men in this world look for, or at least in my opinion, I feel like when I think, what does a high-value man want? 18 to 25, virgin, thin, woman of God, no tattoos. I feel like it's different. Like for me personally, I'm not necessarily looking for a high-value man, but I would want a man that has a little bit of experience. But I feel like from a man's perspective, when they're looking for like the woman of their dreams, they would find a woman that doesn't know anything.
Kind of depends. I think we maybe need to define high value man though a little bit better.
Do I define high value?
Some people would look at a high value man as a guy who's like sort of in Dubai with a Maserati and sort of has all these chicks. I wouldn't say that's a high value man. But some people would look at, I look at, for example, Michael Knowles, who was on the podcast last week. I think he's a high value man just because he carries himself so well, and he's a husband, and I think he's a father now as well. I look at guys who are fathers, who have been in a relationship for a while, and who have been a good leader of their family as high-value men, and especially good leaders of their community.
I think leadership is
sometimes
important.
Having experience with women does come in handy with that. So it's just one of those realities of the world we live in right now.
Yeah, I think there's people say there's a double standard, but I think there's a double standard for a reason. Men and women are very, very different, and I personally don't see an issue with a man going around and being with a bunch of women. Even, my ex who I dated, he would go see other women every now and then, and I never really had a problem with it. I didn't think that there was an issue with it. I think it's normal, but as a woman, I feel like there's just this system in place where like you can't. I feel like it's wrong. That's just the way that I feel.
Your position is that women want men to be experienced and go with a bunch of women, but you would prefer not to go and do that because
Can you repeat the first part again?
So your position is that you value men who go out and get experience with other women?
No, I don't. I think it doesn't matter. But I don't look at a man and I'm like...
But you want to like preserve yourself for the man you're with. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I have not preserved myself in the best way, but I think...
Ideally, though, like if that's what your view is.
If I'm in a relationship with a man, I think that... I mean, I am 100% loyal. I am purely just with the one man that I'm with. I think that from his area, I feel like it's okay for him to do it. I feel like men and women, love and lust are very different emotions. Sure. And for me personally as a woman, when I have any sort of sexual interaction with someone, it's emotional, whether it's a friend or it's in a relationship. There is emotion there. And to me, I could never give my emotion to someone else if I'm in a relationship. as a man, I feel like it's much easier for a man to go out and have a casual hookup and there be absolutely no emotions. For a woman, it's not.
It is easier for them, but do you think that's okay? Do you think that's right? Just because it's harder for a man to separate like his emotions from his like, sexual desires, that he should just go out and do it just because it's easier?
I mean, it's not something I would want, but I think
should you have that standard though? Like if that's what you want, if you want your man to have the standard to look at you emotionally, not just like sexually, that like he should live up to that. Like there's men out there that aren't just gonna like succumb to their, no pun intended, to their desires and you know, and just do that. There's actually men out there who do see sex as an emotional connection, an emotional bond, and they're not going to just do it with random women just because they can. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
I think if you're in a relationship and it's emotional and you love the other person, there really isn't time. I would not be able to give my emotions away to someone else.
Right.
Even if I tried, I don't think that I could physically give my love and emotion to someone else. So I know that that won't happen. Even if he does want to go be with another woman, I know that that emotion won't go anywhere, that I'm solid and I'm secure where I am in the relationship, and I wouldn't necessarily mind it.
And you don't want that same thing reciprocated to you?
What do you mean?
Well, so you're saying, you know, you have this great loyalty and that's beautiful. I'm wondering why you wouldn't want to see that in the person you're with.
I would, 100%. I think loyalty is important. I think that I get my validation in different ways than, you know, my ex-boyfriend would get his validation. My validation would be I would post a cute selfie on Snapchat or maybe even a bikini picture on Instagram, and people would comment and be like, oh, you look so cute. That's my sense of validation. Mm-hmm. I think that his sense of validation would be going out and maybe flirting or, you know, having a one-night stand. And
Do you think that having a one-night stand is more harmful than posting a cute pic on Instagram? Like in terms of he's bonding with another person chemically, you're posting a photo on Instagram.
I don't think there's necessarily a chemical bond. I think that it's just...
Well, scientifically there is. So are you denying that science, or are you just kind of... Is that your opinion?
I'm not denying the science. I think it's just the way that I feel. I don't necessarily feel
I think you guys are kind of talking past each other a little bit as well, because if you look at the dating market at the moment, especially in terms of like the atheist world that we live in, so you look at dating as like a man and a woman in a unity under God. Would I be right in saying that?
Of course.
Yep. So
he created all of us. So.
Exactly right. I would agree with you. However, in the market that we live in at the moment, especially with women's sexual hypergamy, there's a bunch of men who are sort of at the top who are getting all of the attention. This is borne out on all the sort of dating apps and all this sort of thing. So I think what we're seeing is sort of a return to polygamy in a way where women are saying, I'm okay with my man going and sleeping with other women because I want the highest value man. And I know it might be very difficult for you guys to comprehend, but I think that you'd be very surprised how often this is happening.
I think that monogamy is destroying relationships.
Past each other. I think I was trying to understand literally what your view is. So I'm actually really curious to understand it.
Yeah, I think monogamy is one of the reasons why the divorce rates are so high. Monogamy is not natural. For me as a woman, I don't need to go out and be with another man or flirt with another man or get another man's attention or sleep with another man if I'm in a relationship. I don't need that. I don't even want that. I think that, I don't know why, but I feel like men, as time goes on and you're with your wife or you're with your woman, and there's like, you know, the woman has kids and she's spending all of her time with her children, and then the man doesn't get any love or attention. I think that's why divorce rates are so high. Families are falling apart, and monogamy is not natural. Mm-hmm. But for me as a woman, I don't care. I'm going to be loyal to my husband. I'm going to be 100% obedient and submissive at all times. And that's just how
So if you go into a marriage knowing that there's a chance that you're like accepting the fact that this man's going to get bored with you after you have his children, like you mentioned her children, it's their children, right? Like it's his children too. Mm-hmm. If you're like kind of expecting it almost based on like what I'm gathering from your current position of dating, if you were to marry a man like that, honestly, it seems like it wouldn't be shocking at all. And therefore that is why the divorce rate is so high. But if you enter a marriage, both being on the complete same page, that divorce is completely off the table, that like that's what marriage is about. It's not dating. Dating you can break up. Marriage, why are we breaking up? The whole point is you're bonded for life. So if you both enter that marriage with that understanding, you both have that understanding, whereas your position seems to be that you have that loyalty, but you're okay with the man not having that loyalty, and you kind of expect him to get bored after a few years.
I wouldn't say that it's not loyal. I think it's just biology. I think it's the way that men are
that's
engineered.
I think you have a very like low view of men. Like men are not.
I don't think it's low at all
of making an emotional connection with you.
Oh, they are 100%.
And they can be loyal to you.
That's love and lust. Those are very different.
But don't you think if a man really loves you, he's going to be loyal to you? Like love's an action.
Of course, my man will be loyal to me. I know that.
But did you just say that you let him cheat on you?
That I don't consider cheating as a part of loyalty from a man. That's the way that I view it.
Can I jump in? You say, okay, and this is coming from the Christian girl. You say monogamy is not natural, but God gave Adam one wife, and they had their kids, and then they each had their own wives. And I know in the Old Testament, everyone used to have a million wives and whatnot, but in the beginning, before all of that, God gave Adam Eve, and she kind of like screwed us all over, but we're not going to talk about that. But also, like, if you don't consider that cheating, that's all right.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $100. As a man married 18 years, monogamy is natural, and men who cheat are low class. Monogamy is not ruining marriages. This idea that women can divorce a man because they are bored and get paid for it.
I'll come back to that. I just wanted to say, like, you can have your opinion on what cheating is, what cheating not is. I mean, but why would you want that for yourself? Like, you're putting in all this time, putting all this effort, and he's not giving it back. Like, it doesn't make sense how you can be happy with that if you're putting in all this effort. It's like on a scale. You're doing a lot, and he goes and he like treats you as if you're like replaceable. And I don't know. I think the whole like men are biologically like promiscuous, like they should have their needs fulfilled, blah 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 blah. Yes, a relationship is give and take. Yes, men do have sexual needs that they need to be satisfied with their partner. But once you commit to one person, you need to stick to that commitment. Like, this is all about making choices, making decisions, and sticking to them. I don't care if you have, oh my god, I literally like I need to like go hook up with this girl. You don't need it, okay? You want it, and you make the conscious decision to go and do it. You make a conscious decision to go and cheat on your partner. It's not okay.
For me, I see where you're coming from. It's not okay. It's, that's how your sense of loyalty is. For me, if that, I feel like I hold this sense of being so submissive that maybe I feel like it rubs some people the wrong way. If my man wants to go cheat on me and wants to go be with another woman and that would make him happy, then I want him to do that. My world revolves around exactly what my man wants and what he needs.
Do you have a high value of yourself? Like, would you say you like have a lot of self-worth?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a lot of self-worth. I think I'm pretty realistic. I think one of the big issues with modern dating is that a lot of women have this distorted sense of value. They think that they're way more valuable than they really are. I know my value. I'm not a virgin. I'm not 18. I'm not a 10 out of a 10. I'm not some tall, blonde, thin, Swedish girl. I know where I stand, and I know like my expectations of what's realistic and what I think that I deserve. I'm not saying that I think I'm going to get some high value man. I know where I am. It's like the food chain in the wild. Like, there's lions, then you have your gazelles and cheetahs, and there's a whole order to everything. And I know where I'm at.
What's most important for you in terms of like what a man brings to the table?
What I would want a man to bring to the table? I need a sense of control from a man. I don't necessarily like making my own decisions. I don't really, I think a sense of control. I think dominance, masculinity, true masculinity.
Resources?
Pardon?
Resources? You want a man to have resources?
Sure. Yeah. I think resources are important. Yeah. I have this thing where I kind of like being a pet in a sense. I don't really want to make my own decisions. I just kind of want to be told what to do. I look for leadership and guidance, experience, intelligence. I think those are really, really important. Also, financial stability, I think, is important. I mean, I think nobody really wants to work. Yeah. Working sucks.
As much as I wouldn't necessarily agree, I do think that I don't see any moral inconsistency with what you're saying, because in the world that we live in right now, the dating culture is totally screwed.
It's awful.
Yeah, and if you want a guy who's masculine and strong and like sort of alpha type guy, has resources and all of that, then you're going to need to probably look at a guy who isn't a Christian or isn't, you know, a God-fearing man.
And I look for a man who believes in God as well, or a follower of Jesus Christ. Not necessarily religion, but believes in Jesus Christ.
No offense or anything, but like they wouldn't really look at an OnlyFans girl. Just realistically, they might.
You're right. They wouldn't.
They might do. I mean, there might be some out there, but realistically, with the position that you're in, you've put yourself in with doing OnlyFans and this. It's obviously your choice. You've put yourself in a position where you are looking at the sorts of men that would cheat on you, because you're not really looking at like a man who puts morals and principles before anything.
You're absolutely right. I think my definition of a high value man is someone who would never even look in my direction. That's not what I'm looking for. I know what I deserve, and I know the kind of man that I will probably end up being with, and I'm happy with that. I'm comfortable with that. Just because I want these things doesn't mean I know or feel that I deserve them. I know that what I've done in the past, you know, has had a little bit of an effect on the men that I would, you know, bring into my life, and I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that.
Do you think that your value changes based on the things that you do in life? Like,
absolutely,
if you do really bad things, but then you change your life, are you just the same person you were back then, or can you change?
I think that's a good question. I think that's a pretty vague, not vague, sorry, a pretty broad question. I mean, I think if you grew up and you didn't believe in God and then you found God and you changed, I think, yes, that's great. But if you killed someone and like, and then you want to, you know, say, oh, sorry, I think, can you make it like a specific point, like OnlyFans, for example?
Well, I just mean in the sense that you mentioned, you know, your value is, and then you listed like your physical appearance, your age, and like these things that change over time that aren't innate to like your soul and like who you are as a person. And like when you talk about value towards a man, like what a man looks for in you, don't you want that man to look towards you, like yourself, and not like the things that you are, the things that you chose, and maybe you can walk away from?
I do, and you're right. There are some things I didn't list. I mean, I make really good food. I think that's something that gives me value. I love cooking. I love cleaning. I think the things that I would bring to the table that aren't necessarily my appearance would be submission, obedience, really good food, cooking, cleaning. I love to listen. I take direction very well. I'm a good listener.
And then I had one other question for you, because I was really curious about this. You said that you were looking for a man who can control you because you don't want to make your own decisions, and a man who like is intelligent, right?
Yes.
But you also said you are totally fine with your man. If in some ways it could be good that he goes out and like receives things from other women and does things with other women. Do you think that a man who goes around and does that is an intelligent man?
I do.
So he's making intelligent decisions by being with a bunch of different women?
What if he impregnates them? Is that a smart move? I think it's pretty stupid if a guy does that.
I would have confidence in my man that he would not put himself in a situation to give it a possibility to impregnate a woman. I hope that he would be responsible.
But like having sex, there's always a small chance.
There is. I think there's ways to be pretty sure that you won't.
Depends what you mean by intelligent as well, though.
Possibly vasectomy after, you know.
I'm wondering her gauge of like intelligence.
After I have children, a vasectomy.
Lots of men who are not God-fearing men and who have certain values inside of a relationship that would be considered intelligent men. So what do you mean by intelligent?
Well, that's why I'm asking her, because she said she wants an intelligent man, but she also said she wants a man who would if he's not getting what he wants from her, he would go out and do it with other people. Yeah. So I'm saying like those don't really.
But there's like a premise to your question that suggests that a man who does that can't be intelligent.
That's what I was getting to.
So a man who cheats is not a smart man?
Absolutely not. Of course not.
What do you mean by intelligent?
Well, there's multiple reasons for it. If you are promiscuous, you're not only harming yourself by bonding with all those different women. Scientifically, like that's just, there's going to be negative consequences of that. Also, you mentioned pregnancy. You're saying that, oh, that would never happen. He would do this certain precautions. But you see where there's like this path you're going down. Like as soon as a man walks out of your house and says, bye, I'm no longer committed to you, I'm going to go do whatever I want, there's going to be negative consequences to that.
Do you think that there are lots of men in high positions in society who would do that?
Absolutely.
Do you think that they're intelligent?
Not in that way, absolutely not.
Not in that way. Okay.
Definitely not.
So you have to be a bit more specific when you say intelligent, though.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I just defined that decision would be unintelligent.
So they're sexual, social
within the bounds of a relationship, you think they're unintelligent?
I think that people are not,
because you can have a 180 IQ and still cheat.
Well, I think that if he's going to be unintelligent in that way, he might be unintelligent in other ways. Maybe he runs a business and he also looks.
What if he's got a 180 IQ?
then
If
he's
he
very
lacks
maybe he's
self-control.
book smart, but he's not smart with
Okay, but
the
you
person
said
he's in front
yeah,
of.
I think
you did
maybe
say
wisdom
intelligent.
is like a better term.
Wise would
Like,
be
it's not a
wise is a
thing.
much better.
True,
much
but he
better
could
one.
have a
I
high
mentioned
IQ.
intelligent because she mentioned the word intelligent, so I
Yeah.
was just kind of going off of like what she defined as